your loved one is diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Now what? For me, when my mother was diagnosed and we received this really remarkably upsetting news of my mother having Alzheimer's, we were given a prescription and ushered out of the doctor's office. Once we left there, we were on our own. And like everybody living in this 21st century, I started researching and reading and watching and listening to everything and anything I could get my hands on to understand what's happening with my mother and how we would cope with it. So if you are in that place where you just received the diagnosis for your loved one, give yourself an hour, a day, a week for the shock to wear and for you to begin in this journey of loss. Because Alzheimer's is nothing more than this journey of loss, of you losing your loved one, even though it might be incremental. So I call it a journey of loss. So once you are comfortable, not really comfortable, but once the shock wore off, then I think it's really a good idea to have questions. What do you want to know? Because when I did my own personal research, what I found was that there was so much information about Alzheimer's. There was so much information on an overwhelming level. At the same time, there was not enough information. What I mean by that is there was no enough information to meet my specific need. And when I did the research, I was putting in generic questions that were giving me generalized answers that was too much without giving me enough. So if you are in that place, once the shock wore off, you are taking the first step on this journey of loss. My suggestion to you is write down questions you would like to be answered and make those questions as specific to your loved one as you are able to, and look for the answers. And those questions could be used for asking what you need for your loved one as you work through getting their support system in place, whether that is your communication with specialists, with family practitioners, any kind of caregiving agencies that deal with people living with Alzheimer's, government agencies, whoever you're dealing with, and any research you're doing on your own. Those questions will be really helpful to you if you make them as specific as possible. And your questions could change and will change as the progression of the disease continues, depending on how long your loved one lives with the Alzheimer's. Because you asked a specific question today doesn't mean you're going to ask the same question tomorrow. If anything, what I've learned walking with my mother on this journey of loss is Alzheimer's is unpredictable. And I found myself always reacting. I could never be proactive in dealing with Alzheimer's because when I deal with one issue, something else comes. So my suggestion to you is try and come up with questions that would meet your need right now. And don't worry about being stuck with those questions. For example, I knew I would never put my mother in a nursing home or in a memory facility. I knew no matter what it took, I was going to keep my mother at home. So if I had these questions, the questions I'm sharing with you right now here, and I'm going to leave a link you can download, editable copy of this worksheet, is that questions I would have liked to ask. For example, I was putting something generic like, how do you keep loved one living with Alzheimer's safe? And I was getting a list of best memory care facilities, long-term care facilities, nursing homes, assisted living places, list of those. I wasn't asking the right question, which was, how can I keep my mother at home with me and safe? And those were not the questions I was asking with the agencies I was dealing with until it occurred to me later on, I need to work on my questions. That's the only way for me to advocate for my mother. What services available in the community for a loved one who's not going to a nursing home? And if you are in the stage where you want to put your loved one in a nursing home or memory care facility, I'm not saying that's the wrong approach, because I know every family's situation, every family's circumstances is different, and you do the best you can with what you have. Like I am doing the best I can, helping my mother living with Alzheimer's with what I have. But what I'm saying is, if you narrow down your questions and you know what it is you're looking for, then you will get the answers. And those questions change. If your question now was, how can I keep my loved one at home and safe? A couple years down the road, where the care strips your capacity to provide it, then your question might change. What is the best memory care facility close to me for my loved one? That's not the same as saying, what is the best memory care facility? Because I live in Ontario, it's a vast province. Best memory care facility might be 4 or 5 hours away from me. And if I want to visit my loved one a couple times a week, I don't want to be driving 4 or 5 hours each way. So my question would be, what is the best memory care facility for my loved one that is within 40-kilometer radius? Or if you have the flexibility to move, or you are in a profession or a job that will allow you to move, then you could look for the best memory care facility in Ontario. I don't still, because I am a teacher for this particular school board, and going somewhere else means I have to reapply. I have to start from the bottom and all that, and I'm a little too old to do that. So that's where I am. Questions, specific questions like, how can I keep my loved one at home living with me and safe? What needs to be done for me to do that? I have a chart with list of questions. They might not be the questions you want to ask, but the questions will give you an idea what sort of things to think about. Even if you are beginning to do a research, those refined questions will allow you to get the information you want without getting overwhelmed with too much information that only offer you too little. If you would like to know how I dealt with my mother's situation after we received the diagnosis, and how I explored and refined the questions as I went on, please download my podcast, My Mother, the Person and the Patient. The podcast can be found wherever you get your podcast. Not only my mother living with Alzheimer's, but in the podcast, I also explore my mother as the person before the diagnosis. If you found any value in this video, please do not forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification button so you'll be notified every Thursday when I upload a new video. Until next time, bye for now.